Okay, here we are at the feeling we all want, right? Gladness. Okay. Now, let me tell you about impaired gladness first. Usually I would do it another way, but impaired gladness is sensual or sensuous experiences. Having a feeling of pleasure that touches my sensuous and sensual areas. A great meal to distract me from the emptiness of my heart. If I could just fill up on cornflakes, a great meal, then for a while I'm relaxed. I saw a little 8-year-old kid eat so much pizza. I looked at his face afterwards. He was drunk. I said, Jay, you enjoying your pizza? Yes. The kid was drunk on pizza. Dough and grease and meat and cheese just floating. So I'm saying that sensuous or sensual experiences, and you can take sensuous and sensual, you clearly way past a meal. It's the territory of lust. Lust is a movement towards whatever will give me power over being in need. That's what lust is. Lust is a hatred for the craving for life we have within us. So impaired gladness is sensuous or sensual experiences without involving our hearts. If a person has sex with someone who they're not married to, let's say you're married, this is a married person, and this person goes and has sex with someone they're not in covenant with, they can enjoy the sex just as much or even more than they do with the person they're in covenant with. Okay? Because sex is a sensuous and sensual experience. But if your heart isn't in it, your lust was satisfied, but your heart wasn't gratified. So impaired gladness is sensuous or sensual experiences without the presence of the heart being involved. It's doing things to make your heart not bother you. Gladness, the impaired gladness is pleasure without having to involve any of the other 7 feelings. Does that make sense? Okay? So, true gladness is the pleasure of life with your heart being fully involved. For example, if your child grows up, goes to college, gets a great degree, and then gets a great vocational work that this child likes, okay? You are going to be grateful and have gratitude about your child's outcome. But there are going to be times when you think about the graduation, and the graduation will remind you of the child leaving, being grown. And you, the parent, will sit there and start to miss the times you had, which is sadness. And then you're going to have some regret about some things that you might remember that in spite of all the gratitude you have, you'll begin to remember some things that you wish you could have done differently if you're sensitive to love. If you're sensitive to love, you're going to have regret. You're just gonna. Because your WIPs, works in progress, never going to change, which means you're going to keep making mistakes. And staying in fellowship is the admission of the mistakes so you can be forgiven, and the admission of celebration so you can be delighted in. So you stay with your relationship with your children that way, by remaining in confession about being human, from celebration to grief. So then you're sitting there and you're remembering that your child is gone, and they grew up, they left, and you start to be sad, and you start to remember regret, and you have the loneliness of knowing you can't go back. You have the sadness of knowing you can't be with them, and it hurts to sit there and be human. And all of that grew out of gladness. Remembering, oh, it's so great that my son, blah, blah, blah. And then in that memory, we remember ourselves. We put ourselves back together, total heart, and we love through pain. Gladness will bring us to pain. True gratitude will bring us to joy that has life sadness in it, life's feelings in it. Anything that has great gratitude in it will also have This is going to sound strange, but loss. Give me something. Anybody give me something that you're grateful about?
God.
Okay, you're grateful about God. Okay, have you ever been without God?
Yes.
Which allows you to be grateful for God because you know what it's like not to have God. And earlier I said that the worst of us get the most of God. Meaning that those who are the greatest need of God have the most room for God. And the greatest gratitude that people have comes from normally the worst past and the greatest need that a person has. So our gratitude for God, like St. Paul, even in spite of the beauty of forgiveness, would also keep him in remembrance of where he came from. So do you see our joy is connected, even our gratitude for God is connected to what? Loss, sadness, hurt, loneliness, fear. Oh gosh, it could have been, what I missed, I'm so grateful for. You know, it could have been worse, but it was as much as it was. So do you hear gratitude even for God awakens us to healthy shame? Our neediness, I needed God. Oh, I remember where I was, what happened, and where I am now. Isn't that amazing? And Paul's great, incredible passion, anger for God was directly related to him being, I was a person who killed people like me. I was the chief of sinners. And let me tell you, as far as climbing the ladder of success, getting rid of these things, I was shameless. I was almost perfect. I could look down on anyone. Benjamin of the Benjamites, Pharisee of Pharisees. I mean, he said, if I wanted to brag, I won't do it, he said. I'm not going to do it. But if I wanted to, let me tell you what I tell you. And he said, I think it was funny. I think he's being funny. If I wanted to brag, I won't, but I will. Just so you know, as proof. So I want you to hear, gladness is a gift that we get from being good at and willing to experience the other 7 feelings. The thing we're after, and God has made us to be after it. God has made us to desire gratitude, pleasure, joy. We're made for it. But the only way we're going to have it here is through being good at these feelings. Think about the great joy of experiencing forgiveness. Pretty nice. It's pretty sad what it cost. Think about the great joy of having shame. I'm needy. My neediness opens up the treasure trove of God. But it's embarrassing. And David, in his healthy shame, when the Ark of the Covenant was brought back into, I think, Jerusalem, he stripped down and just started dancing. And then his wife looked out and saw him and said, look at that fool. And he was celebrating in his human healthy shame like a child. He was being who God made him to be. And yet he got humiliated by the woman that he wished to be in heart with. So his joy cost him struggle. So it goes on and on and on. Jesus' great passion for us cost him hurt. For the joy set before him cost him pain. So you were guaranteed to have gladness if you become adept at the other 7 feelings. This doesn't sound so good, does it? Now, this is the word, adept. Dahadi, you said you were a safety in college, and I started thinking about you were fast. You safety, you got to be fast, right? And you're big. So when you said you were a safety, I was a little surprised. Of course, we're looking back a bunch of years, you know. But I mean, you're a big man. I was thinking big and safety, running hard. Boy, when he hit somebody. When they were hit, they knew they were hit. Would you agree sometimes? Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. And let me tell you a story or two. Now, if I wanted to brag, I'm not going to brag, but let me tell you a couple of stories about what God has done for me. Now, I know I'm the chief of sinners, but let me tell you about it. I knocked somebody out. But when they were hit, they were hit. But what did it take for you to get to that place where you walked onto that field and you absolutely could get into the zone and just do what your body and mind and spirit and heart all came together to do? What was that like? To be that fast, to be able to hit that hard, and to be able to say, did you ever intercept the ball? Did you ever run back like a touchdown? Are you serious? Did you do it more than once? Which can be once or twice, or 10, or once or twice. At that point, I'm done bragging. I'll let you take it from there. What's it like to intercept a football in a real game? To make a really good interception, just take it from somebody and do for your team what you're made to do. And did you ever make some cuts back and forth to get to the end zone? It wasn't all just open field. So what's it like to make that cut and to break a tackle and to get to the end zone? And people love interceptions, your team, and especially interceptions for touchdowns. That's just absolute thrill and celebration, isn't it? Do you find your heart racing just remembering? Mine is just thinking about it. I'm just delighting in the possibility because I've never known what that's like. I never did play long enough to intercept the ball. I remember my youngest scored his first touchdown, 8 years old. I asked him, I said, what was that like? He said, it was just like fun. Okay, that's not a lot. I don't know, Dad. It was just fun. But it was thrilling. What did you have to pay to get to that touchdown?
2-a-days.
Do you like 2-a-days? Good. I was so scared you were going to say, I love 2-a-days. I like 2-a-days better than the games. I'd rather do that than just intercept the ball and score a touchdown. But 2-a-days. Do you ever dread 2-a-days? Just think, oh, man. The night before, getting up in the morning, it's like, oh, this is going to be a long day. Do you ever sweat so much that you were wondering how your next step, muscles are so fatigued, how your next step is coming when you're running those sprints? Do another. Up and downs. So, did you ever wonder if it was worth it? Yeah. And then when you played D1 football and worked all that time, we're so grateful for the work and grateful for the interceptions. Did you get to achieve what you really had dreamed of achieving? Oh, wow. The story's making a turn. This gratitude's got a cost. You see, starting to tell the story of a touchdown, 1 or 2 or more. I don't want to brag. But also I'm remembering what it cost to get there and the influences in my life to get there. It's a life in total. So that joy that's before you of remembering had a cost. A lot of people who graduate from PhDs, medical school, they go into depression right afterwards because they don't stop and grieve what it costs to get to that place of getting that degree. All the work and the time. They need to stop and grieve. So, you see, my point is that our gladness comes from being good at the other feelings. Because after we finish this conversation, when you remember playing football, there's more of the story of your life. Just you telling me that last night, was just remembering, just thinking about, God, it must have been great. And I got to know you a little more. I began to even see you differently, to know more of your story. So, which is a gladness too. But also now, knowing more of your story, we're talking about some of your losses. Did you get to do what you dreamed of? Not achieve, Did you get to do all that you dreamed of? The answer is no. And in that no is what? Anybody. I'm going to put something together here. Don't you answer, Dahadi. In that no, what do you know? And him saying, did you get to do everything you dreamed of? He said no. And in that no, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? When he said, no, I did not get to do what I dreamed of. I got to do a lot, but I did not get to do what I really dreamed of. When you hear no, he didn't. What do you know? What? Empathy. Beautiful. And in that empathy, knowing what it's like to be human, his admission of his human experience is healthy shame. His healthy shame saying, no, I didn't. Yeah, I did some great things, and great, it's just so good, and yet not what I dreamed. And what it took to get to those, what I did get, it was painful. It was tough. And all of a sudden, Carly says, I relate. Oh, Carly, you relate. You're 5, 10, and you weigh in at, don't tell me, but have you ever intercepted a pass and scored a touchdown? You ever done 2-a-days? Okay. Okay, now you're kind of blowing my thing here. Out in the grass? No. But you played sports. Okay, what sport? Okay, so yeah, you know 2-a-days. Throw yourself on the hard. So, like you football guys, y'all got grass. We got wood. You see? Yeah. So on some level, because of your experience in life, his healthy shame awakens you to your history. And you can care about him more because of your healthy shame, because I get what this is like. And yet no one would look at you two and see football and then necessarily volleyball. You wouldn't even know about volleyball unless I asked. And that healthy shame goes, I relate to you. You relate to me. You're not even from around here. And all of a sudden, you two guys, through healthy shame, I know what it's like to be alive. I know what it's like to have pain. You being good at these 7 feelings, because that know, what you know is sadness. What you know, you called it empathy. What you know is, I know what it's like to work for something and have some of it and not have all of it. Correct? And you know the pain of wishing and the memories, and they hurt. And you know the loneliness of dreaming and other people around you perhaps not relating to the whole story of how much what it feels like to dream and not have, right? You see? So that's healthy shame. And you can care about him more because of his story of telling the truth about his life. So gladness, joy, the gift of gladness is joy with sadness. Gratitude with sadness. Every time we have great gratitude, we're going to have some sadness come with it. If you can't permit sadness or hurt or loneliness or fear into your life, you can't have gratitude. You can't have real celebration. Because for every celebration, there is an ending. And if you can't handle the ending, then you've got to do everything you can to make the celebration continue falsely. And alcohol goes great with making a celebration continue. If we got this going, let's add to it because tomorrow's coming. So the celebration is about stopping tomorrow instead of living today. Okay. So with